to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for joining us today. Get ready to be inspired and motivated to live a high-impact life. Now, here's Rick.
Welcome to the Point of Impact podcast. I'm Rick McDaniel. It is great to have you joining with us again today, and we are going to do one of what I like to call a one-off episode where we're just going to cover one subject in one episode. We just got done spending 4 episodes looking at what it means to be a winner in the game of life, gold medal living, the principles, the traits that lead to a champion in life. That we concluded. Now we're going to do just a single episode here. Next week, we're going to do something very rare. We only do about one a season, which is an interview. I know a lot of podcasts are almost all exclusively interviews, but this podcast is almost all exclusively not interviews. But next week, we will do an interview. I'll be out in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'll be interviewing someone out there. So you can look forward to that. And then we'll get back to another theme that we will take a little more of a deep dive into over a number of episodes. So today, it's 10 traits of high performers. And I love doing these sorts of episodes. If you're familiar with this podcast, you know that. If you're not, if you were to go back and look at what is getting close to being almost 200 episodes, that'll happen before the end of the year. We'll hit that. You will see many, many, many episodes that have 10 ways, 10 traits, 10 habits, or 5 or 15. Usually either 5, 15, or 10. More than likely 10 is the most common number, covering all kinds of subjects. So this is, again, sort of a part and parcel staple of what we do here at High Impact Living in terms of the podcast, Point of Impact podcast. That's what we do, and we're going to do it again today. Before we do that, I just want to real quick tell you that my new book that's coming out called Greater, that book is now available for pre-order on Amazon. All authors love people to pre-order. Publishers love people to pre-order because that shows an interest and makes everybody excited. Sometimes affects the print run, how many books are printed in initial run, and lots of other things, all of which, don't seem to have much to do with you. So that's all for the writer and the author and the publisher. What about for you? For you, it is an opportunity to potentially even get the book early. In the past, there are people that have gotten books, before everyone else even got the book on its initial release day. And if not, usually definitely by the release day. So where other people are going to start ordering the book, you will actually already have the book. So if that's something that interests you, obviously we would love for you to do that. You say, well, sell me on this book a little bit more, Rick. And I would just say to you that the whole concept is that a greater life is waiting for you. There's a greater life for you. There are greater things for you to experience, greater influence, greater impact, greater responsibility. All of what is in front of you is greater. And this whole idea of not just great, but even greater. And it's a great inspirational book. It is a devotional book, meaning it has 100 2-page readings. So if you're not a big reader, this is a perfect book for you because you don't read it all at once. You don't get into chapters that are 20 pages long. You're reading something that literally takes you about 3 minutes to do. So it is perfect for you in that regard. It's also great, really great for a daily boost. If you want a daily inspiration, it's definitely for you. If you are someone who wants to connect with God in a deeper way and a stronger way, it's a great way to start your day because there's a scripture verse that goes along with each of the 100 devotions. So you're getting Bible, you're getting inspiration, you're getting a great story. These are story-based, which is what makes mine very unique. There are many devotionals out there that are just short little one-page light little, meditations. Okay, that's fine. But mine are a story, and there's more to them, and I think you'll love them. So I'll be talking a lot more about the book for sure. But if you want to pre-order it, love for you to do that. Go to Amazon. All right, let's jump in here today. 10 traits of high performers. So first of all, mentally tough. Mentally tough. People who perform at a high level are people who have mental toughness. They experience the same setbacks that everybody else experiences, but they just don't accept the setback. They say the setback is not going to make me take a step back. That's not how they look at setbacks. They see setbacks as a setup for a comeback. And again, I've written on this. I've got two books on comebacks. One, the latest one, the most recent one, which is also the most best-selling book I've done, is called Turn Your Setbacks into Comebacks. And so that is all about that kind of concept, that people who are mentally tough, that really are, they're fighters, they're warriors. They just keep going after it. They don't give in. They don't give up. They don't brood and stew over their failures. They don't call themselves a failure. They don't look at pain as something that's negative. They look at it as something that's motivating. I'll get into more of that in a little bit. They are resilient. They don't look at roadblocks as reasons to give up. If they have a strong support system, they're able to have people around them to encourage them. By the way, in a fairly shameless plug for my book, I would just say to you, that's exactly what something like Greater is there for. It's there to give you that daily boost when you're battling and you're coming up against barriers that are holding you back. So mentally tough people just do not give in like so many do these days, unfortunately, and just accept defeat and look at themselves as someone who can't overcome and is more interested in looking for excuses than they are for actually looking for how they can win. Okay, second trait of high performance, relentlessly reliable. They are just people that you can count on. They take responsibility. They take responsibility for what's happened. They take responsibility for their life. They take responsibility for mistakes. They own their stuff. They don't blame other people. They just take care of what needs to be taken care of, and they're able to learn from their mistakes, and they're able to just say, I'm going to set standards. I'm going to follow those standards. I'm going to honor those high standards. I'm going to be a consistently excellent person, and I'm going to be a consistently excellent whatever, leader, teammate, spouse, parent, whatever it is. They're not going to let anything keep them from being reliable. They are relentless in their pursuit of consistency. This is high performers here. These are the people that just keep doing it. There's people that just keep winning, and then there's people that can have a winning season or a time of winning, but they can't keep it going. They just cannot seem to keep it going. That's not the case. I'm looking at, this is not to pick on Florida State football right now, but last year Florida State was undefeated. And now they have an absolutely horrendous record, and they're on their way to a losing season. So it's great to be undefeated, man, and they got gypped in the playoff and college football playoff and all that. There's no denying that. But it doesn't do you a lot of good if you can't back it up the next year. Got to be consistent. Hard to do, but that's what high performers are able to do. All right, third trait, high EQ, high emotional quotient, or emotional intelligence. Now, this is just, I've talked about this before. Many of these things I've talked about in one way or another, but let's just make sure we all understand emotional intelligence, term coined by Daniel Goleman. It means the person's ability to manage themselves and their relationships effectively. These days, many believe that EQ is as important as IQ. Your emotional quotient is so important. It basically comprises 4 capabilities: your self-awareness, and that's enormous, man. There's so many people who don't have self-awareness. It's stunning to me. Self-management, your ability to manage yourself; social awareness; and social skill. That's what EQ looks like. That's what the qualities in a big picture sense. So someone who has a high emotional quotient, high emotional intelligence, is going to be a high performer, because these are the kind of people that know how to interact with other people. Again, have self-awareness. They know themselves, and they don't deny things about themselves, and they know what needs to improve in themselves, and they don't act like these things aren't true and everybody else around them knows that it is. They seem to be the only person who doesn't. They have a real empathy. They support people. They show patience with people. These are qualities of someone who has high emotional intelligence. Yes, they certainly have self-confidence and positive sense of self-worth. Yeah, but they also care, about other people, and they try to understand them. They take an active interest in their concerns. They want to build deep connections with people. I mean, this is a gigantic subject to just touch on briefly here today, but it is vitally, vitally important. If you're going to be a high performer, you're going to have high emotional intelligence. All right, another trait, they think strategically. These are people that are like, I'm going to plan today for the successes of tomorrow. That's how I'm going to approach life. Life is not happening to them. They are taking it to life. And that's why they end up performing well. They anticipate challenges. So this is the strategizing, the forecasting. They're anticipating challenges and preparing steps ahead to stay on course. So then guess what? They're unfazed by challenges. They're unfazed because they expected this to happen. They're not surprised that it's happening. And they're able to adapt to it quickly because they're thinking strategically. They measure. They want to know what the results are. How can you know if you're winning if you don't measure it? So do you have systems in place that allow you to be able to do that? They don't wait, to be told what to do. They are actively working on what to do. So their performance, their success is not some sort of lucky happenstance. I mean, it is a product. It is a product of their thinking and then their acting upon their strategy that they have developed. And so the result is, they make things happen. Things get done. High performers get things done, but it's not by accident. It's because they have planned, they have anticipated, they have a strategy, they're working it, and they're not going to allow challenges to get them off course, and they're measuring their results so they know if they're actually winning. All right, fifth trait of a high performer is that they are critical thinkers. They're thinking, they're identifying, what is the cause of the problem? What is the issue? They're not just always doing, they're also thinking in order to do. They evaluate the pros and the cons, what's working, what's not working. Isn't it kind of amazing how many people don't really evaluate? It's not working. What are you doing about things that aren't working? And you see this in organizations. You see this I was just listening to someone talking about some of the NFL teams that, at this point in the season that are already doing so poorly, and it's just another year. These are $billion+ teams. This is the most popular sport in America, and it's a big deal. You ought to be able to figure out, I'm not saying you have to win the Super Bowl every year. You don't have to be the Patriots, but you're telling me that you can't even have a winning record year after year? Got to take initiative. Thinkers, they're taking initiative. They're seeking solutions to problems even before they arise. And certainly when they do, they're looking at the data. They're making conclusions based on the data. I mean, this is it. This is how you do it. This is how you perform at a high level, is when you come to a place where you're like, okay, I understand that this is what it's going to take. And I've given this a lot of thought. I've really drilled down on this to try to understand it. That's what high performers do. They use their God-given brain. All right, here's another trait. Comfortable with being uncomfortable. Comfortable with being uncomfortable. I mean, this is it. If you can't get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you have very little chance of being a high performer. You have to just welcome the fact that change is happening. Change is happening. And innovation is how you get ahead. This is how you succeed. And if you can't innovate, if you are not proactive and you just are letting stuff happen to you, and then things are changing around you, but you're doing nothing about those changes, then you won't be a high performer. And as I like to always stay on the positive side, so as you welcome change and even thrive in it, you're really going to see some absolutely positive things take place because of it. No doubt about it. It is going to happen. High performers like this, they're relentlessly pursuing knowledge. They just want to know. They want to know, even if knowing means, that they're going to have to change. Even if knowing tells them this isn't working, they can take it. They can handle it. They can, you can't handle the truth. They can handle the truth. So they're willing to listen to what makes them uncomfortable. They're chasing after success and the knowledge that they need to get there. And this is like a constant thing. I mean, it's not like, okay, this one time I will be comfortable with being uncomfortable. No, this is how they do it. I mean, this is how they roll consistently. They're comfortable with being uncomfortable. All right, here's another trait, always one of my favorites, which is positive mindset. Your mindset shapes your reality. That's it. So high performers are people who are very optimistic and positive. They spread positive energy. They motivate. They uplift. That's what they do. They see solutions instead of problems. They have an optimistic mindset. They have a can-do kind of mentality. They're able to visualize success. They can find the good even in the bad. They watch their language and the words that they say. And of course, they're constantly monitoring their mind. Mindset matters. And I've done stuff on this. If you use the Bible app, I have the most popular reading plan I've done, and I have, I think, like 8 of them on there, is Mindset Matters. You might 5 days, just listen for 5 days, like 3 minutes a day. I mean, for 15 minutes of your life, you could turn your mindset around. If you're like, I want to be more that way, Rick, well, this is how you can do it. Surround yourself, with people who are inspirational, which is why you're listening to this podcast, which is why you want to get greater, because again, it's inspirational. You want to be around people who are inspiring. You want to be around people that have a can-do spirit and, just believe like it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We're going to win. And having the kind of mindset that just refuses to let negativity reign, let negativity take control of a team or a company or a division or a part of an organization, just a division within it or just a department or just your own individual life. This is how you perform at a very, very high level, is when you have this positive, optimistic mindset. All right, I could talk all day about that, but I got to move on here. So what else do high performers do? Well, they have clear, defined goals. And they're written down, by the way. They're written down. They're not just like carrying around in their head. They've got clear goals. If you can't see it, you can't achieve it. And high performers can tell you exactly what their goals are. They can tell you exactly what they're trying to achieve, what they're trying to do. It's not like, oh, I don't know. They know exactly. They know exactly what they're going for. They have a goal. They have objectives. They have a strategy. They're working it. And it just, it all comes together beautifully when you do that. Hard work is not one of these 10 traits, by the way, and I have that in many of my principles for success, but I don't have it in this particular one because I wanted to focus on these other aspects. But it's kind of like understood, like, you got to go after it, and it can't be just when you feel like it. You got to visualize the dream, like you got to map out the steps it's going to take to reach it. That's what it's all about. High performers do not perform high by accident. It is a clearly defined path they're going down. They have their dream, they have their goals, they have their objectives, they have their strategy, they know the steps that they're going to take. And, you do this and, the result is, guess what? High performance. It's the trait of every high performer, is to be able to function this way. All right, what's another trait? They master priorities. They're people that just prioritize effectively. They're master prioritizers, however you want to say it. They focus their energy where it counts the most. So it's the whole work smarter, not harder kind of idea. It's a whole idea that there's a lot of things that in all my years of leadership, I just had so many people, staff, volunteers, everybody and his brother who wanted to tell me we should be doing this, we should be doing that, we shouldn't be doing this. And, and by the way, some of these ideas were good ideas. Nothing wrong with them at all. It's not like, oh, wow, that's just totally stupid. No, but it's not what we are trying to do. Like, you can't do everything. You can't. You got to focus in on high impact tasks because those bring the greatest return. And high performers bring a return. So high performers bring a return by focusing on high impact tasks because those are the ones that bring the performance. Those are the ones that maintain the momentum. Now what happens is you try to do too much, you get overwhelmed. And now all of a sudden, where you should be focused, you're not focused. Too many irons in the fire, and the performance is going out the window. This is really a huge one. Like, you just might ask yourself right now, like, if you're not performing at the level that you want to be performing at, maybe the first thing to ask yourself is, are you doing too many things, trying to do too many things? What is it? Your many trades, but master of none. You don't want that. You want to focus in on a few things and just be absolutely the best you can possibly be at those few things. Tackle those high impact tasks, make them the first thing that you do. Those should be done, earlier in the day. Give it your best energy. All right, the final trait of the 10 traits of high performers it would be committing to lifelong learning. Pursuing lifelong learning. It's hugely important. You stay ahead by constantly growing. Just having like this growth mindset. And just saying, I want to learn more. I want to expand my skills. Even the failures and the setbacks are learning opportunities. They're ways for you to say, okay, progress over perfection, but still learning from everything that I can learn from so that I can just keep growing. Part of this is, embracing feedback, just like listening, embracing it. Not all criticism is bad. My dad taught me, he taught me some great things. I told him this past Father's Day, I went through some of the things he taught me. I said, these things have just helped me to be so successful, Dad. Here's one: chew the meat, spit out the bones. Chew the meat, spit out the bones, which is just like to say, there's probably something in a criticism that's valid. Now, some people criticize, they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. They have absolutely no inside knowledge, so they're just ignorant of so many things, so they say stuff and they're wrong. But there's other people that they've got something there that maybe you can look at. So what can you learn? You can learn from every experience, that's what it means to have like a lifelong learning commitment. Like pursuing lifelong learning is like, I can learn from every experience. And that's what I want to be able to do. I don't want to ever stop growing. High performers are constantly learning, and they're growing, and they're progressing, and they're moving forward. And it's like, well, how do they keep it going? How can they keep winning? Because they keep learning, they keep improving, they keep developing. So they're, I always used to say that, leaders are readers. Leaders are readers. You have to be a reader. You got to take it in. Got to listen to stuff like Point of Impact podcast here, so you can just gain all this content and information. Other people aren't, because they don't have the same commitment to learning. well, that's why you're going to be the high performer and they're not. So there it is, 10 traits of every high performer. Take the ones that resonate with you, that you need to work on, that you need to develop, and do just that. And you'll see your performance go up, up, up. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode.